protesters. The protesters, I would not say that they were outnumbered, but they were not as equipped with guns and ammunition as the mercenaries, obviously.
Well, for the moment there, Sami, thanks very much for giving us your impressions and witness accounts there of what you've seen over at Green Square in Tripoli. Thank you. Well, in the last hour, the US State Department says it's studying that address made by Saif al-Islam Gaddafi and is seeking further clarification. For more on this, we're joined now by Michael Singh. He's a former Senior Director for Middle East Affairs at the US National Security Council, and he's currently a visiting fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policies in our Washington studio. You've been following events throughout the day as to what's been going on across Libya. What do you make of this statement now that the US administration is seeking clarification? What does that mean to the layman who's watching this programme at home?
Well, I think what it means very simply is that they're digesting the address made by Saif al-Islam, which was long and rather confusing in parts. And obviously a decision needs to be made behind closed doors as to how the U.S. will choose to respond. So I think what you're getting right now is sort of a holding comment from spokesman as this statement is digested and as the U.S. decides, in consultation with European allies, how to react.
Of course, there is the threats coming out of Tripoli as well, certainly from Saif Islam, about how they are going to deal with Europe if they are interfering in Libya's affairs. I mean, there's lots of threats here that they want to talk to the protesters, they don't want to talk to them, they will deal with them with bullets to their final conclusion, and yet they're also blaming the international community as well.
Well, that's right. And, you know, the violence so far has been shocking, and obviously the U.S. and the EU have both condemned it. The statements made by Saif al-Islam were quite harsh and really a negative response to what's happening. And I think the U.S. is clear that it's looking for a positive response, respond to the demands for reform and for change that we've seen not only in Libya but across the Arab world. And I think it's important to remember that as the U.S. and EU formulate their response, that the dependence that obviously the West has on oil and other things is a two-way street. Libya obviously is also quite dependent itself on trade with the United States, on trade with the EU, on exporting its oil to foreign markets for the prosperity of that regime there. And so there are tools that the U.S. and EU have available to put pressure on Gaddafi and his regime.
Well, for the moment, Michael Singh from Washington, D.C., thanks very much for joining us. In other developments, in Libyan tribal leader has threatened to block oil exports if the government doesn't, quote, stop the oppression of the protesters.
From the south to the north, east and west, all tribes are united. We're not pressuring any tribe or any person. We see that the priority is to put an end to the bloodshed. We ask this of Muammar al-Gaddafi, Europe and the United States. Otherwise, we will be forced to stop oil production tomorrow.
And events in Libya are pushing oil prices higher. In New York, crude for March delivery rose by $1.40 a barrel on Monday. Well, turning to protests elsewhere now in the region, anti-government demonstrators in Bahrain are preparing for the long haul and have set up camp in the capital, Manama. Hundreds of people have spent the night in the Pearl roundabout after the government ordered the military to withdraw from the area. James Bays reports now from the capital.
They are determined to make this a permanent place of protest. A day after the army and police withdrew, the area around Pearl Roundabout has become a tented city with free food, water and electricity. The protesters are pitching camp and they say they won't leave until they get what they want.
Zain al-Abidin down, Mubarak down, Al-Khalifa down, down, down.
Can the king make political concessions, or is it too late?
It is too late now. Now people, you can hear them. They want to change all the government. They want a new government. They want to choose by themselves. They want election.
The Bahrain government says it's opening a dialogue with the people.
I am not one of those who would ask you to forget about your interests. So an important part of our future work is to be in touch. As for today, we do not know what form or shape the national dialogue which we all would agree with, would be. We have to have a consensus on it.
But one opposition politician visiting the roundabout was told very clearly he should not enter into any negotiations. A politician who talks to the royal family, he was told, has the blood of those who died on his hands.
As you see, the changes here are dramatic changes. You cannot expect what will happen. Of course, the initiatives from the youth here will not stop.
There seems to be a disconnect between the opposition politicians and the views of these people. They say they don't want this government at all, and many say they want the king to leave the country. James Bays, AlJazeera, Bahrain.
We'll have more reaction to developments in Libya after the break, when we'll also take a closer look at the man who's appealing for talks and warning of civil war if the protests don't stop.
Hello, we've got a bit of everything going on across North America at the moment. We've had those high winds just around the eastern seaboard, around DC, which brought down the national Christmas tree. We've got snow now sweeping its way across the northern plains into the Midwest. And of course, we had the flooding rains, which did affect California recently. Now, that same weather system, that's the one which is making its way into those northern areas of the US, bringing some snow. Snow still very much in place through Monday around the lakes into New England, eastern parts of Canada, and then a line of rain just down the Appalachian Mountains. But to the south of that, we've got some warm sunshine still, temperatures getting into the low 20s. Touch cooler there for Dallas at around 17 degrees, but at least it will be largely fine and dry. Pleasant sunshine continuing here then. Plenty of sunshine into the Caribbean, a rash of showers there into Costa Rica, into Nicaragua, but for the most part, it's looking lovely. Temperatures getting up to 28 Celsius for Kingston. Sunshine not quite so lovely into Europe. We have got some rather cold weather, some more wintry weather to come just around the Balkans, the Alps, Ukraine, southeastern parts, seeing some very wintry weather. We could see some heavy snowfall to come into Romania and also into Bulgaria. It's heavy rain for the western side of Europe, with rain making its way into France and the UK.
It is in the details, a look, a connection, the moments that reveal the truth. Award-winning documentaries from critically acclaimed filmmakers. Witness documentaries to open your eyes. At this time on Al Jazeera.